Good morning, second period. Today we are on pages 95 and 96 in your yellow Smarter Balanced workbook. So let's take a look at page 95. Make sure you have a pencil and are ready to take notes. On page 95, number 9, it says Mr. Enders conducted a survey and found that 2/5 of his students played a team sport and 1/4 of those students played basketball. Remember, the key word of means multiply. So it says, what fraction of the students play basketball? Write a number from the number tiles in each box to complete the calculations. You may use numbers more than once or not at all. So notice I'm multiplying 2/5 times 1/4. So 2 times 1, 5 times 4. Multiply those and then reduce. Question number 10. Write 6.84 in word form. When you get to the decimal, you say and. So 6 and blank. Question number 11. Remember, when we're multiplying by a number that is greater than 1 whole, you're going to end up with a number that is greater than 3/4. When you're multiplying this number, 15/7 times 3/4, notice 3/4 is smaller than 1 whole, so your answer would be smaller than 15/7. And you're going to do that for each one. Remember, when you're multiplying by a number that's greater than 1 whole, you end up with a number that's greater than what you started with. And when you multiply by a fraction that's smaller than 1 whole, you end up with a number that is smaller than what you started with. And when you multiply by 1 whole, like 7/7, you get an answer that is equal to what you started with. Okay, question number 12. 12 friends share 4 bread rolls equally. Remember, that keyword share means to divide. So you're going to take 4 divided by 12. The reason that 4 goes first is because what you're sharing goes first. You're not sharing the people, you're sharing the rolls. So it's 4 divided by 12. So you're going to write 4/12 as a fraction, and then you need to reduce it. Question number 13. You're going to use those words, and you can only use each word one time. So play around with the words, see which word makes sense in each blank, and again, you can only use it once. And it says a blank is never a parallelogram. Remember what a parallelogram is. On a parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. It has 2 sets of parallel sides. So what is never going to have 2 sets of parallel sides? 13b, a blank is sometimes a rhombus. On a rhombus, opposite sides can be equal or opposite angles can be equal. And then 13c, a blank is always a rectangle. On a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. Question number 14. So you're taking 72 divided by 4. We're going to skip the multiplication part and let's look at the distributive property first. Distributive property means I'm taking 72 and I'm going to break it into 2 numbers that add up to 72 that 4 goes into equally. So for example, 4 goes into 32, and so I take 72 minus 32 and I get 40. So with distributive property, you're going to put parentheses and you're going to put 40 divided by 4 plus parentheses 32 divided by 4. And then you're going to solve each of those problems and add up those answers to get your total answer. Once you get your total answer, you're going to multiply it by 4 to check it to make sure that it's equal to 72. Question number 15. Describe how to locate the ordered pairs 6, 8 on a coordinate plane. Begin your description at the origin. So if you start at 0, 0, do you go to the left or to the right? Do you go up or down? Describe how you would go to get to 6, 8. Finish all these problems before you move on. Okay, let's see how you did. On question 9, we had 2/5 times 1/4. So notice we have 2 times 1 on top, 5 times 4 on the bottom. So we get 2/20. Remember, you got to reduce. So I'm going to divide by 2, I get 1. Divide by 2, I get 10. On question number 10, we're writing this in word form. So this is actually incorrect. I made a mistake here. I was doing expanded form. I read it wrong. So in word form, it should say 6 and 84 hundredths. So question number 10, ignore what I have written here. It should say 6 in words, 6 and 84 hundredths. This was expanded form. Question number 11. So x is going to be greater than 3/4, and x is going to be less than 15/7. Because when I multiply 3/4 by 15/7, notice 15/7 is greater than 1 whole, so my answer is going to be greater than 3/4. Going the opposite direction though, I'm multiplying 15/7 by 3/4. 3/4 is smaller than 1, so my answer is going to be smaller than 15/7. On B, when I take 7 times 6/5, my answer is going to be larger than 7 and larger than 6/5 because both of these numbers are larger than 1 whole. On question number 8, because both of these are smaller than 1 whole, either way that I multiply, I'm going to get an answer that's smaller than what I started with. And then on D, when I multiply 7/10 by 8/8, I'm multiplying by 1, so it's going to be equal to 7/10. And when I multiply by 7/10, I'm going to get an answer that's smaller than 8/8 because 7/10 is smaller than 1. Question number 12. I have 4 divided by 12. I can write it as a fraction. 4/12 means 4 divided by 12. And then I reduce by dividing by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Okay, question number 13. A is pentagon. So a pentagon is not a parallelogram because it does not have opposite sides that are parallel. B, a parallelogram is sometimes a rhombus because if it's a square, it's a parallelogram and it's also a rhombus. And then C, a square is always a rectangle because opposite sides are equal on a square and opposite sides are equal on a rectangle. Question number 14. So again, I'm splitting apart 72 into 2 smaller numbers that add up to 72. So I used 40 and 32. The reason I used 40 and 32 is because 4 goes into 40 equally and 4 goes into 32 equally. So I have 40 divided by 4 is 10. 32 divided by 4 is 8. Therefore, 10 plus 8 is 18. To check it for multiplying, I take 18 times 4 to make sure that it's 72. On question number 15, you start at the origin. You're going to move 6 steps to the right on the x-axis. Then you're going to move 8 units up to put your dot. So you always go over before you go up. If you have any questions, email me.